Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Airspeed Reads Naruto video. This one's going to be for volume 29 of the manga, which is called Kakashi vs Itachi. And we got a really nice cover this time around, Naruto and Gaara, very fitting given what goes on, and they kind of, I suppose some of the key emotional moments definitely focus heavily on the connection between these two and characters like Chio, Sakura, and Kakashi noting this, and just Naruto's determination to save Gaara. So definitely works as the cover for this volume. Back when we just have an image of Kakashi showing that he is indeed going to be fairly focused on here. But yeah, we cover another 9 chapters, 254 to 262. Siblings approach enemies. Kakashi comes through. Guy versus Kisame. The Power of Itachi, Kakashi vs Itachi, Jinchuriki host, and Naruto charges on. So yeah, another really good volume. I like what this covers. There's a lot of, I suppose, explanation given to us about what exactly Jinchuriki hosts are, explaining why they exist, why people want the power of the tailed beasts, and we get an explanation of the tailed beasts themselves. Getting the full details that, like, okay, there are 9 of them. They each have a different number of tails. They are just these kind of creatures made up of chakra, basically, and everyone wants them. It creates this balance of power within the shinobi world between the villages, and kind of most villages have their own Jinchuriki. So, very much establishing that, okay, Gaara and Naruto are special because they're Jinchuriki hosts, but they are not, like, so rare that they're the only two. That this is a thing that has existed, but it is still a kind of very rare group to be part of this Jinchuriki host and be one. And so I like that. And then they further just establish, as I said, the connection between Naruto and Gaara, the suffering, I suppose, that the Jinchuriki host goes through, in that they obviously live a fairly lonely life because they're obviously treated as a monster because they have a tail beast inside them. And then we get the reveal about what happens when you extract the tail beast from someone that causes them to die, basically. So kind of big deal there, that just to keep the balance of power within the nation, you kind of have to sacrifice someone just to keep this tail beast within your nation, and that involves, when someone's on the verge of dying, you have to extract it from them and basically kill them, and then basically turn someone else into the Jinchuriki and kind of change their life for the worse. And we get, obviously, who did this to Gaara. We already know that the 4th Hokage did this to Naruto. So very interesting explanation for, like, oh wow, so it wasn't, so it's one of these things where, like, the 4th Hokage, think about that differently, in that, oh wait, he saved the village, and Naruto should be treated as a hero because the tail beast was put inside him, but he suffered because of this, and very few people realize that. And I think that's why Sakura had such a big reaction last volume, and also this volume, to hearing Naruto's kind of true thoughts about growing up alone, and also his connection to Gaara. But yeah, we start off with basically Kankuro waking up. His healing is basically done. Sakura has made an antidote, so once he rests, he will be okay. And he basically just sets them up with the pieces of information they need before they go off in pursuit of trying to get Gaara back. He informs them that, okay, one of them took Gaara, so you can track him by just tracking Gaara. The other one, I ripped off a piece of his cloak, and you can track him that way. And so Kakashi can use the ninja dogs, and they can track them that way, so that's fine. They then basically have this moment where Kankuro wakes up and notices that Naruto's around. And we get this really nice moment where he realizes, the importance of having Naruto there. And he again remembers the flashback scene with himself and Gaara, where Gaara talked about how Naruto changed him and his views on his bonds with people. And Kankuro, you can see, is really, really affected by this. That it means a lot to him that basically Naruto and the impact that he had on Gaara basically allowed him to have his brother back. Tamari and Kankuro both got Gaara back as a brother who cares about them, thanks to what Naruto did and said to Gaara. So it's a pretty big deal, and so you get this nice moment where Kankuro just, says, "Please save my brother," and Naruto says, "Of course, I'm going to be Hokage. For now, the Kazekage can just owe me one." And Kankuro saying something like that is a pretty big deal, because he's usually a little... Kankuro usually comes across a little bit arrogant. Remember when we were first introduced to him, he definitely was trying to say, I'm the best puppet master, that's his kind of style. So him just saying, "Please save my brother" to Naruto shows a really big amount of respect that he's giving Naruto for what he did, and the faith that he has in him to kind of succeed here. And then we just get this moment where Tamari wants to go with Team Kakashi to get her brother back, but Chiyo actually orders her to stay behind and play her role in the village, and she says that I'll go instead. So we get Granny Chiho accompanying them as the kind of sand member of the group, and she just mentions, "It's been a while since I've taken care of my adorable grandchild," and that's obviously Sasori. So nice setup as they kind of go off on their mission. We then cut over to the Akatsuki, and we get the reveal of the Ghetto statue for the first time, though they don't name it just yet, but we do get the actual reveal of the Ghetto statues. So pretty interesting, just that it's this thing that they use to basically extract a tailed beast into, because it seems like none of them want to become a Jinchuriki themselves, they just want to put it into this statue, but we don't get the full extent of why just yet. And yeah, basically it's revealed is that only Deidara and Sasori are there in person. The rest of them are there in this kind of weird hologram form where they're projecting their spirit there so they can still perform jutsu. And it's going to take 3 whole days for this technique to work, to extract the Shukaku from Gaara. And they're worried it might take longer because they don't have Orochimaru anymore. So really nice setup. And then it's just basically it's then them trying to do this as they still have to keep all of these ninjas pursuing them off their back. So we have Team Guy also on the way there. They get informed that they're relatively close thanks to Pakun, and obviously Team Kakashi is getting closer as well. So it's basically set up just that, okay, Kisame and Itachi are going to keep the Leaf Ninja away, but they're gonna do it in such a way where they can still perform the extraction jutsu while still fighting them. So that's revealed later on to be this kind of substitution jutsu, but it's more of they put their kind of essence into someone else and turn them into a kind of less powerful version of themselves, but it still is them. So it's kind of hard to explain, but that's where most of the fights in this volume come from. So yeah, we basically get Kisame is going to fend off Team Guy, and Itachi is going to fend off Team Kakashi. So we get the very fitting fights. Obviously, Kisame wants revenge against Guy from their last kind of battle, where Kisame gained a certain amount of respect for Guy, but was kind of forced to kind of retreat after being a little bit embarrassed. But he seems to have a certain respect for Guy, that he wants to create this rivalry with him, but Guy just is completely unaware that he's fought this guy before. He just doesn't remember his opponents all that well. The only one he remembers, of course, being Kakashi as his greatest rival, and that's all he seems to focus on. Yeah, we just get a pretty cool fight, kind of as we established. They very much set up Kisame really well here, that he has chakra similar in level to Naruto. He has the most of all the Akatsuki members there, and it's very similar to Naruto. So he has Tail Beast's level of chakra, but he's just a normal person, so that makes him extremely powerful. But again, the later reveal that this is 30% of Kisame's power, and Neji is the one who compares him to Naruto, kind of really suggests that Kisame has an insane amount of chakra beyond even Naruto. So yeah, we get this idea that Kisame is very experienced, and he manages to trap Tenten, Lee, and Neji in a water prison jutsu, as Guy is basically left to fight him one-on-one. And then on the other side of things, before Itachi even confronts them, we get the explanation about the tailed beasts, or the Biju as they call them here. It's interesting here because they just spell it B-I-J-U, but every time I see it online, it's B-I-J-U-U. But I always just say tailed beast because I think it's easier. But I suppose it's one of those things where like I think it's easier to say Jinchuriki than to do some sort of weird explanation about like whatever that actually directly translates into, like beast within human or whatever it means. And yeah, it's mainly like Sakura learning about this, but then everyone actually learns a bit towards the end, and that Chio is so old, she's been there to basically experience, the kind of transition of a Jinchuriki from one person into another, so she can talk a little bit more about this sort of stuff. That during the era of the Great War, every nation's hidden village competed for control over them for military purposes, but their power is beyond human understanding, and no one could control them. And basically, it's just revealed Biju have spread and exist all over the world now, so they're kind of spread out, one in each village more or less, and we gradually also cut back to see the ghetto statue kind of beginning to absorb the tailed beast from Gaara, and we get that this statue is to some extent alive. It's got like 9 eyes, and like they're beginning to open here. We can see that 2 of them are already there, and they're kind of getting a third one, but we don't get that fully revealed to us yet. If they have any tailed beasts just yet. Just that yes, the confrontation with Itachi is finally here, and the big thing here is that this is Sakura meeting Itachi for the first time, seeing the person who has basically, in her mind, really sent Sasuke down this really bad path, and so everyone is frustrated with him. Kakashi, wants to make amends for the last time they fought. He made a mistake and got trapped in the Tsukiyomi. Naruto, of course, dislikes Itachi because for the same reason Sakura does, and this time, Kakashi is very set, like, don't look into his eyes, he's really powerful with genjutsu, and he basically says, Kakashi basically leads the team and says, I will primarily fight Itachi, but I will use you guys as backup, so he doesn't kind of, like, diminish them by just not letting them fight. He does allow them to kind of back him up, and it's a big deal. He also kind of reveals to Chio that no, he's not just an Uchiha. There's more to it than just, he's got strong vision. He's a Mangekyo Sharingan user. You have to be very careful here. And so even she is on edge, kind of implied to have potentially encountered the Mangekyo Sharingan before, but not really overly familiar with it. The big thing here, though, is the reveal about what Kakashi now seems to know about the Mangekyo Sharingan, in that he talks about, that jutsu requires a considerable amount of chakra, and it seems there's quite a risk to your eyes too, Itachi. And he says, Itachi, how much of your eyesight have you lost? And this seems like a really big shock to Itachi. So, using the Mangekyo Sharingan a lot basically begins to make your eyesight go away, that you gradually over time become blind. And we get this kind of ominous panel, like a little bit kind of mystery setup. Itachi says, Kakashi, ... are you? And there's no reaction. So there's this sort of implication there about like how, okay, you have the Sharingan, do you have the Mangekyo Sharingan? It's a subtle setup for that, for sure, so I really like that. Makes me want to rewatch the anime episode where this happens to kind of see if they emphasize this little discussion here as much as they do here. But yeah, the fight is pretty good as we kind of cut back and forth between Team Guy and Team Kakashi, and obviously it's ultimately the kind of Jonin level characters fighting each other. So it's Kisame versus Guy as the others are kind of taken out. It's Kakashi versus Itachi, with the others kind of gradually kind of coming in and out of the fight. But eventually what happens is Guy manages to defeat Kisame using the 6th gate of the 8 inner gates. Keimon, he says it is, release. And he uses this technique that Lee is super impressed by, which is called Asakujaku, and it's basically, he does this crazy taijutsu combo that actually fires fireballs at it. It's one of those weird panels where it's a really nice double-page spread, but all of the action happens right in the middle. So, unless you really like open the kind of spine of the book up and like kind of bend it, it's really hard to see what's actually happening on the panel. So, I don't really know if how they kind of go about showing this. Obviously, in a magazine like Shonen Jump when this first came out, that's just binded like with a kind of staple, so it's a bit easier to open than this. It just means, like actually seeing Guy right there in the middle. it's kind of hard to see unless you kind of wreck the book and the binding. So a little frustrating, but not too much of a problem. But yeah, we basically get the two fights kind of ending one after the other because there's obviously a reveal about the nature of both of these fights. But yeah, Naruto actually manages to deliver the final blow to the Itachi clone after having some struggle with Genjutsu. It's revealed that Itachi can use Genjutsu with his Akatsuki ring, doing this kind of raven type jutsu, or crow I think it is. Yeah, we get this flashback to obviously them training, Naruto and Jiraiya training about how to counter Genjutsu, and that what you have to do is you have to stop your chakra flow and then kind of really heavily like burst your chakra to kind of like get this kind of impact and like disrupt it, or someone beyond you that's not under Genjutsu can like hit you to get you out of it. And so he does that and initially breaks through the Genjutsu, but Itachi's very powerful with that and he can't. But then Shiho and Sakura kind of hit him basically to wake him up. But we do get some interesting kind of things during this Genjutsu. It kind of reveals a lot about the insight into Naruto's headspace at this point in time, what actually he sees during the Genjutsu. He sees Sasuke during their final battle saying, I failed to kill you before. He sees Sakura saying, why didn't you stop Sasuke? I believed you. Kakashi saying, you couldn't protect your comrades. I expected a lot from you. What a disappointment. And then Gaara saying, it's always you that comes out ahead. Once only you achieve happiness. So it's this idea about how he feels that, all this bad stuff is kind of happening to other people around him, but he feels like kind of nothing's happening to him, and he's failing a bit. But he's broken out of this, regains his confidence, and manages to, deliver the Rasengan to Itachi towards the end of the fight. So really nice technique, and everyone's kind of impressed with Naruto. That for most of them, it's their first time seeing him use the Rasengan full force like that, because obviously, like, when he learned it, it was during the mission with Jiraiya, so only like Tsunade and some of the other characters saw it. Then during the kind of Kakashi knows he can use it, of course, because he blocked their attack. Sakura saw it, but never saw it like do damage to someone. Only saw, and I think even then she was more focused and upset that they were fighting each other rather than focusing on what jutsu they were doing. And then obviously their final battle, the Sasuke-Naruto one, was only seen by Naruto and Sasuke. So it's Sakura's first time seeing Naruto use a really powerful move and kind of finishing an enemy like this, that he really has grown. So very impressive. But the reveal with these two things, of course, is that when they basically kill their opponents, the fact that they are Itachi and Kisame kind of fades away, and it's actually just two kind of sand jonin that Sasori had kind of taken control over. And it's basically just this jutsu that kind of had substituted the essence of Itachi and Kisame over other people, but there was only a 30% kind of power clone. So it's given them enough time, though, to fully extract the tail beast from Gaara, which we'll get to in a moment. But yeah, what we get then is obviously that's when the Jinchuriki explanation comes into play, and that this is a really, it's kind of revealed to us that it's not a super common thing, but it's been done by most of the villages. This is how most of the tail beasts are kind of kept under control. The reason why there's not news of like 1 tails, 2 tails, 3 tails, 4 tails attacks all over the kind of ninja world is because all of them are kept under control by there being Jinchurikis. But it is this group of people that suffer very heavily, and Sakura, you see her reaction to this is very heavy. Using those Jinchuriki, people have waged war over again, and she's just talking about, what about the people that were made into Jinchuriki? And she's getting very upset, and it's here where we get revealed that if you forcefully remove the Jinchuriki, the tail beast from a Jinchuriki, they die. And it's a big thing because obviously they know that this is what's happening to Gaara, but for Sakura, she's also very upset because she knows that the Akatsuki are after Naruto, and if he gets captured and it's pulled out of him, he's going to die. So she's upset that he is now under so much pressure, like that if he's captured, this will happen to him. And Naruto's not just gonna like give into this, and maintains his confidence, and you know, even though Sakura is kind of crying at what could potentially happen to Naruto, he kind of gives her confidence again. So pretty nice. But yeah, the you just for there progress. We get to a moment of basically kind of Gaara basically dying and just him talking about him kind of losing track of who he is. Like, what is this? Who am I? And stuff like that. It's an interesting scene to kind of highlight him kind of fading away, his death basically, and we don't really full on get it confirmed like Gaara has been killed, but given what they've just said and they mentioned that the extraction is complete, that's all we're really led to believe. And from there, what happens is basically everyone arrives outside of the cave that the Akatsuki are performing the extraction in. Team Guy arrives, then Team Kakashi arrives, and basically this is where Guy, Lee, Tenten, and Neji meet Naruto for the first time, obviously since he's returned. And also, just before they arrive, Kakashi reveals to Chiyo that Naruto is the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. So she's actually become fairly interested in him, talking about who in the world is he? And he's a Jinchuriki, and he has the Nine-Tails sealed inside him. And I really like Kakashi's speech here. Once again, another one of those nice moments where Kakashi, even though he doesn't directly train Naruto all that much, he really knows Naruto. He says, Naruto probably doesn't have any special feelings for the Sand Village, but Gaara is a Jinchuriki too. Naruto understands Gaara better than anyone of the Sand Village ever could. When it comes to how Jinchuriki have been treated, all the villages are pretty much the same. That's why Naruto has to save Gaara. Whether it's the Leaf Village or the Sand Village means nothing to him. To Naruto, Gaara is a comrade who shares his pain. Naruto's dream is to become Hokage, so when he heard that Gaara became the Kazekage, it frustrated him, but on the other hand, Naruto was sincerely happy for Gaara. Naruto possesses a special power. Without exchanging many words, he can strike up a friendship with anyone. And Chiyo just talks about how she's lived long, seen many things, and she's found that, for her, alliances with other villages are mere formalities. We needed to protect resources, to protect the Sand Village, and that she was the one who sealed Shukaku inside Gaara, so she feels somewhat responsible for why he's being hunted right now. That she has kind of added to this whole Jinchuriki process that tends to happen, and she's kind of avoided all these alliances, and she just kind of feels that, you know, there's so much potential in the youth now that they are the ones forming bonds with other villages, and it being close bonds that they care about, and that there may be something that she can do coming up, something that, you know, she can still do to help out. And everyone arrives, it's a big deal, you know, they're all impressed to see Naruto, but it's basically just all the Leaf Villages, village ninjas are going to team up. They're right there, just about to confront the Akatsuki. There's obviously two of them there in person, and the others kind of via spirit, and they're obviously going to find what happened to Gaara. So pretty big ending to this, and that's setting up obviously some big stuff at the start of the next volume. So overall, good volume. Wouldn't say the best one, I don't think, but I still think Shippuden right now. There's a lot of detail they're going into in regards to the story, the various things, like explaining what the tail beasts are, what the Jinchuriki are, is very nice to get, and it feels a little bit more detailed than part one. But obviously this is more of a transition kind of part of the arc right now before we get into the final big fights. But it's a nice setup of like powers that people are going to use, and that you have a moment where Chiyo takes these two scrolls with her. They're kind of summoning scrolls, so she's going to do something amazing with those. Kakashi obviously revealed to have some sort of a new jutsu in the previous volume, and then the hint here that he may have Mangekyo Sharingan. That's a big deal. And just in general, all of the character setup, Naruto, Gaara, and the fights that are about to take place, obviously. So it's definitely interesting, because you wonder, like, okay, there's two of them in there, Deidara and Sasori. Who's going to fight who? The most obvious thing is that Chiho is going to fight her grandson. That makes complete sense, but there's so many ninjas involved here. Like, who's going to fight who? Like Deidara, who makes sense for him to fight out of the kind of main group, but as we know, it's more of just like the Akatsuki can do this kind of running situation and everyone just chases after him. But it's nice setup definitely, but not the not the greatest volume, and then there's just a lot of explanation, but it's very solid. So yeah, that's been the review for Naruto Volume 29, Kakashi versus Itachi, which, you know, that's the name of the volume, and yes, to some extent we get that fight, but it's like 30% Itachi substitute versus Kakashi and not full power, really. So a little bit of a tease with that. It probably could have been called something different, but the name doesn't really matter too much. So yeah, that's been the review. So in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on Volume 29, on my review of Volume 29. Then the final thing I'll say is just you can follow me on Twitter or Tumblr, Airspeed Prime. Both of those social media accounts are linked in the description below. And then you can support my channel to help me make more videos, better videos, and the main thing, to get a better camera so these videos can be better, by supporting me on Patreon. And there's a bunch of different rewards you can get to participate in videos and choose video topics on Patreon. And then if you prefer one-off donations, there is the PayPal donation link as well in the description below to further help out my channel. But other than that, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.